This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Man, oh man, we kicked a lot of ass in our last episode. Let's see how well we do today. The Lions, they edged the Minnesota Vikings 31-29 at US Bank Stadium. First loss for the Vikings. Lions win without Aidan Hutchinson. Jared Goff, 22 of 25 for 280 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs also leading the way in that ensuing drive. 15 carries for 116 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. He and Goff also set up that Bates game-winning 44-yard field goal with 15 seconds left. Bates, by the way, got an NFC Player of the Week award, one of them. Also, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 catches for 112 and a touch. Khalif Raymond, a 21-yard touchdown catch and run with Gibbs blocking for him on 3rd and 6 late in the third quarter. Brian Branch keeps on doing his thing. 2 pass defenses and 1 interception. Even Terrion Arnold contributed a little bit, but man, David Montgomery got hurt, came back, fumbled the ball. It was returned by Ivan Pace Jr. for a touchdown to give the Vikings a 29-28 lead. With still a few minutes to go, the Lions were forced to punt. Jack Fox pins the Vikings deep in their own territory with a really good punt, like usual. The Lions defense forces a 3-and-out. On 3rd and 4, looked like Sam Darnold's throw was overthrown. The Vikings were forced to punt, and the Lions, like I said before, Goff and Gibbs set up that game winner by Bates, 44 yards. He's always been money, by the way. And then the Vikings had one last chance. There was an illegal formation penalty. The ball was spiked with 1 second left, but there was no 10-second runoff. But Trevor Nowatzki still finished the job. The Vikings had no chance anyway. They were looking at it. Had they tried a field goal from that distance, 75 yards out, that would be impossible, way impossible. It'll also be way too impossible for a Hail Mary too. Anyway, just the Lions pass rush. They did their job without Aidan Hutchinson. Aleem McNeil got a sack, or was that in Dallas? But anyway, Trevor Nowatzki, a sack. My God, how about that, man?
Josh Paschal. You're thinking of Josh Paschal.
Paschal, yeah, that was Paschal. Yeah, thank you. But Nowatzki got the sack to end the game. So there were 2 sacks, one by Paschal and one by Nowatzki to end the game.
Don't forget Malcolm Rodriguez, too. He had a helping hand. So did Cracker Jack Campbell.
Yeah, he did.
So I'll start right there, in fact, because you brought up something that I wanted to agree yet also disagree with you on, because it clearly showed their struggles of trying to create some sort of pass rush without Aidan. I mean, you got to think about this. The last full game that he played, which was against Seattle, the Monday night game, Aidan had about 15 or 16 pressures just by himself. The Lions, as a team in this game, generated only 15 pressures against Sam Darnold. that shows you already the gap that's there with Hutchinson's absence. Also, it contribute. Look at the fact that they got 4 sacks, but one of those came on essentially the last play of the game, which was trying to disrupt the Hail Mary attempt. Other than that, you had no sacks in the first half. I already mentioned the fact that you had lack of creating pressure. It showed throughout the course of the game. I saw a couple instances where James Houston, he did a good job of maintaining contain, but what else is there to do? If anything, the coverage the secondary was what saved the defense in this game, in my opinion. You mentioned Brian Branch, for example. He got an interception. He should have had a scoop and score touchdown, but that got called back through the replay. And frankly, I'll say it right now. I said last week, and I've been saying up and down on Twitter, he's looking like the next Ed Reed. I'll also say this, especially now with Hutchinson gone, he may very well make himself a dark horse chase for Defensive Player of the Year. Mind you, this is only his second season in the league. Mind you, he just turned, I believe, 23 years old yesterday or the day before. So there's still lots more to grow, lots more potential for him to achieve and accomplish. And he's the kind of player to where Alex Anzalone revealed, he may have gotten the game ball from the defense on Sunday, but part of him wanted to put that ball away because there was a couple plays he thought he could have had back. That's the type of mentality, the type of player that he strives to be, that he wants to be week in and week out. That's the kind of player you want on your team, especially now with your best player and one of your captains now out in Hutchinson. You need someone to step up and fill that leadership void more than anything else. And having a guy from your secondary is more than fitting. And frankly, it's not surprising that, again, it's coming from a guy in his second year. But when you come from a system like Brian Branch has come from, and now you're welcomed into a coaching system to where you're understanded and everything just flows with each other perfectly, and you're all in on what the coach believes. Anything is possible for what you can achieve with your development, and Brian Branch is absolutely making the most of it for sure. I couldn't help but be more ecstatic of how he has come up huge for us. And the fact that he still somehow fell all the way to the middle of the second round is insane. If it wasn't for the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs went in the first round, he may very go down as the undisputed biggest steal of the 2023 draft.
Yeah, and the Lions are going to need Brian Branch and the rest of the receiving defense to step up, considering their pass rush is especially missing Aidan Hutchinson.
Without doubt. Listen, you were already missing Davenport. Kaminsky has been hurt since the preseason. James Houston has been a healthy scratch, and like you said, your best player just went down in Aidan. So as much as you like to see what Lee McNeil has been doing, and you're seeing other guys like Nowalski get involved and Rodrigo get involved, you still need to go get an edge rusher. And especially if you're Brad Holmes, you've got to do whatever you can to do, get whatever deal you can get done. And there's names available, even if it's not the name that Lions fans want to see. If it's not a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett, I could take us a Darius Smith. I'll even throw someone up against the wall and say, hey, what do you think? Hey, humor me this. See if the Rams are, I'm just kidding, not the Rams, but if the Saints are actually offering Cam Jordan, just humor me on that. They'll likely say no. But still, show me something. Even if you get a door slammed in your face, let me know that you at least made that call to put some effort to try and get a deal done. But other than that, their run defense, even though it got a bit of a test from Aaron Jones, they still held to under 100 yards with only 93 yards in the game, just like they held Justin Jefferson, who I consider to be the best receiver overall, the best pure receiver in terms of size and ability and clutch playability. No disrespect to Amon-Ra, but if I had to make a choice between him and Jefferson will be my wideout 1. Amon-Ra's my wideout 2 in that situation. But still, and that's no shade or disrespect. But when you've seen the type of plays, the type of abilities that Jefferson can accomplish, I believe he's had the most plays of receptions of 20-plus yards or more from the line of scrimmage since he entered the league. That was a stat that was showcased tonight, and he showcased it again, making big play after big play tonight on Thursday Night Football against the Rams, even though the LA came in with the win, which, by the way,
30-20.
Yeah, which also was huge because it put the Vikings essentially 2 games back behind the Lions in the division. So thanks, Stafford. But back to my point about what the defense though, despite not having Aidan Hutchinson, despite having the other injury that's been plaguing them throughout the course of this season, they still held one of the best pure players in the entire league to under 100 yards. They also helped maintain their strong run defense. They were able to generate 4 key sacks in the second half. And despite all that, despite battling back to that early 10-point deficit, because it was looking ugly, it was looking real ugly. You had the fake punt failure and everything else. You were giving up early yardage, you were giving up big plays, but you settled down. You got Jameer involved. Monty was not having a good game, so you said, "Okay, Sonic, you take over for Knuckles," and that's exactly what happened. Jameer had about 160 yards from scrimmage, from his 116 on the ground and 2 touchdowns to his 44 yards through the air. Monty, even though he was hurt early and he had that crucial late fumble, he still contributed. He had his own big time play or two of being productive with making catches out of the backfield. So he was still very useful, even if it wasn't his usual useful self. You mentioned Bates. I think this game firmly established to the Lions and the Brad Holmes, yeah, we got our kicker. For damn sure we do. So that's one thing to know.
Always been money.
It was just a wild wild second half, a wild game overall, but especially in that second half. You had blown 11-point leads. You had fumbles. You had
just one. David Montgomery.
I know, but it's just an example of everything that was going on. No, Goff had a fumble too. He was strip sacked on a fumble, and he recovered that. And also, don't forget, there was another play where Goff, if he had not stepped up in time the way he did, that would have been a strip sack in Vikings ball, clearly, hands down. And we got to give it up to Jared Goff here, man. He had himself another perfect half. I think it was the first 14 or 15 passes of the game he was perfect for. You already mentioned the 22 for 25 that he finished with, but let's talk about the fact that he is now 3-0 against the Vikings ever since they hired Brian Flores as their defense coordinator. And in that time span, he's been 77% with his completion percentage, right? With 857 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Mind you, that's against a team that blitzes on more than half of their snaps. And they certainly did the case here in this game. And yet Goff held his own, held his pressure. Even though he took 4 sacks, he still held on and protected the football, made smart plays when necessary, got the ball out quickly when necessary, and it made the most of it, especially to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, again, he might have had a bit of a slow start to the beginning of the year, but he's really come alive as of late. This game, he had 8 catches, 112 in a TD. It pretty much mirrors out the average that he's done in his last 3 games against Minnesota, where he's gotten at least 7 yards, at least 100 yards, and at least 1 score. So we saw what the offense was doing. As long as they weren't shooting themselves in the foot, like we saw with the slow start and the late fumble by Monty, honestly, the offense was still able to generate over 30 points total. And the fact that you still had the defense being able to, build a wall and make a last second stand, despite whatever potential controversy that might have been with the runoff. They still held on. They got that last sack, and now, because like I said, combined with having that head-to-head tiebreaker, and now with the Vikings losing tonight against the Rams, not only are the Lions in first place of the division, not only are they in first place with 2 full games ahead of Minnesota, courtesy of the scenario I just mentioned, but also, ladies and gentlemen, your Detroit Lions are the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. That speaks to the goal that I mentioned back in the preseason. The goal was not necessarily getting to the Super Bowl per se. It was getting the NFC Championship game in front of Ford Field, because you know what the crowd has been such an advantage for you in big games and big moments over the past few years, and know by the fact that the only way you could have gotten that was having home field. And with having home field with the number 1 seed, you know what it also means? That means you can only worry about playing 2 games to get to the Super Bowl instead of playing 3 the way you did last year. Who knows? You having that extra game off will give you a bit that needed rest. And if you get those 2 games, you have everything else lined up for you. Who knows? Maybe we could see a potential miracle happen with Hutchinson coming back. I doubt it. The priority is his health first and foremost. But let's not forget, though, it's some details of updates. There was no ligament damage.
Good.
Thank God. There was no nerve damage. Thank God. It was a clean break. Yes. But the thing is, he was, I kid you not, merely 10 minutes away from one of the best hospitals and facilities in the entire country, if not the entire world, in treating an injury such as this with one of the best doctors in the field that is capable of treating an injury such as this. So, there's a reason why that Hutchinson's family has been feeling, very blessed and thankful, saying this was essentially Aidan felt the hand of God in a sense. Say what you want, your mouth may vary on what you want to believe on that, but still, I think it's very easy still to give the consensus that Aidan is very, very fortunate that this did not turn out as horrifically bad as we all originally thought. Because let's not forget, he did have a similar injury back in his junior year at Michigan, where he fractured his right ankle, had to miss the rest of the year. Was really a bad injury, but he rested up, he healed up, came back, had a monster senior year, broke the single season sack record, which conveniently was held by his dad. Finished up runner-up to the Heisman, won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State, got to the college football playoff. So if you know anything about Hutch, depending on whenever he comes back, he's going to come back with the aim of being better than he was before, as incredibly insane as that thought is. But this speaks to the mentality of who he is as a player and as a person. And I'm sure that presence is missed in this team, but still you got to move on. You got to roll on with the crew that you got, and you got to keep finding a way to win games, just like you did here against Minnesota.
Yep. And then we find out in our trending truth segment, the Lions, Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams was suspended 2 games for violating the NFL's performance enhancing substance policy. As I'm hearing an echo, by the way, we apologize for the technical difficulties. But anyway, according to Eric Woodward of ESPN, JMO decides not to appeal. So the Lions are going to miss him, but they still have other weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tim Patrick has been stepping up, of course.
This is where you can finally bring Sam Laporta back into the mix.
Yes, I was going to mention him too. So the Lions are going to face.
It's also a chance to bring in a guy like Isaiah Williams more into the fold. He's been on the inactive list, but he's been catching some notice, some attention in practice. So who knows? He could be seeing some potential playing time and snaps with this open roster spot now for the next 2 games now. So
give him a test drive, yeah.
Yeah, guys like that are going to have an opportunity.
Yeah. The Lions are going to play the Titans and then the Packers at Lambeau Field. That'll be a test for the Lions offense. But the Tennessee Titans, a 1-5 record. And it's at home, back at home at Ford Field, Sunday at 1 on Fox. By the way, one of my nephews, Roland's birthday, by the way. He's turning 6. Shout out to him. But anyway, the Lions should have less than 0 problems with the Tennessee Titans, especially at home. Take it away.
Well, first and foremost, there's a couple things worth of note coming into this one, other than the fact that JMO is suspended for this one. And frankly, I'm glad that he decided to accept the suspension, even though he disagrees with the spirit of how things might come about with how he got the positive to begin with. That's neither here nor there. It's good to know that he's not being shunned by his coaches or his teammates. He knows that he made a mistake. He's got to accept the consequences of that mistake. But he knows that the support will be there for him when he gets back. And thankfully, I'd rather he just miss these 2 games so that way we can have them back for the Sunday night game at Houston against the Texans. Because frankly, I'm starting to look at that as a very winnable game, especially seeing how C.J. Stroud has looked specifically against NFC North teams. Just saying. But that's neither here nor there. I digress. We've got to talk about what's going on with the Titans. So here what we have with the Titans, they're 1-5. They're one of, frankly, good contention to be the worst team in all of football. And so it's gotten so bad to where they've had to replace Will Levis, the Mayo Man himself, at starting quarterback. Instead, it's going to be Mason Rudolph who will be getting the nod here for Sunday, but he's going to be minus, one weapon because he's got guys like Calvin Ridley. Yeah, he's got Tyler Boyd. Yeah, he's got Tony Pollard to hand the ball off to, but he had DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is no longer there. He has been traded to the Chiefs. So the Lions, depending on what you say, if you thought this game was going to be an easy one to begin with, it now feels even easier because the Titans are seemingly going into tank mode as we speak. And this is a chance, by the way, to really get things going, to get back to your bread and butter, and put off a little bit of a showcase too, because this is a home game. Yes, this is a potential to be a trap game because, like we mentioned, you got Green Bay next week. The following week at Lambeau of all places. Then you got at Houston for Sunday nights. That's 2 consecutive road games.
NBC.
Both of them with high implications on multiple fronts. So this definitely has the makings of a trap game, especially considering the fact that, speaking of curses or 6-game curses, considering the fact that the Lions had a 6-game losing streak against the Seahawks and against the Cowboys. They conveniently also have a 6-game losing streak against the Titans. And that even goes back to when they were in their last franchise iteration as the Houston Oilers, they have not beaten this team at all since they became the Titans in '99. So with that being, and they got a 10-3 record all time against them going back to the Houston Oilers days. So with that being said, there's still ways you can get this done. You have the home crowd at your disposal. You have the knowledge that Tennessee has one of the weakest pass rushes. One of the weakest pass rushes in the game in terms of getting to the quarterback and applying pressure. Bottom 10, bottom 5, all across the board in terms of rankings and statistics in that regard. They're definitely one of the worst passing offenses in terms of getting the ball down the field with throwing the ball as well as providing good pass protection. And frankly, even though the Lions do not have Aidan Hutchinson, if they can get 4 sacks against a pretty darn good Vikings O-line, I would say they should, on theory, have no problem, at the very least, applying pressure against one of the worst pass protecting teams in the league in the Titans. So all that being said, as long as you can get enough of your plays into where you're not struggling, and perfect world, you would love to have them be up by 3 scores midway through the fourth and you start pulling your starters, but that's not the perfect world. So I could see this as a situation to where they may struggle a little bit, they may play with their foot a little bit, but once the second half gets going, they'll be able to flip that gear, flip that switch, and they'll be able to pull away. What was the spread, if you have it in front of you, Taylor?
Well, the spread, it's got to be like wide, really freaking wide. Let me tell you that.
Sure, but it's rare. It's still
12.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. Yeah.
The Lions are going to cover.
You really think they're going to cover by 2 TDs?
I think the Lions should win by at least 3 scores. Just on paper, man. The Lions are 5-1. The Titans are 1-5. The Lions just simply unanimously outrank the Titans. Period. In all departments.
No, I agree with you. They're going to win this game, but I can see Tennessee finding a way to sneak in a backdoor cover. That's why I'm a little bit, I want to go out on a limb with that spread, but I don't know. I'm tempted about it. Let's see. So, you know what? Let's go it. Lions 37, Titans 18.
Okay, so that's 19. So the Lions will still cover anyway. Yeah. I'm going to go.
They may give up another late touchdown, but I think they'll still be able to cover just in case. So yeah. I'm going to ready for this one. I'm going to go Lions 38, Titans 10. I think they should. Yeah, it's basically similar to how things went last week against Buffalo. Buffalo, had a slow start themselves, but they got their head out of their rear ends and they took care of business. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the exact same thing going for this one against the Lions.
I hear you, but we never know. But anyway, we both predict the Lions to win. We both predicted the Lions to lose in our last episode of the Vikings, but guess what? They pulled through. They won by 2 without Aidan.
The way that game started, I was having flashbacks to the Carolina game. I was having flashbacks to the Baltimore game. I was having flashbacks to many a game where not only the Lions got kicked around, it especially happened at Minnesota. So I'm like, okay, I've seen this song and pony dance show before. I know where this route leads. So I turned it off for a little bit, but I kept my phone on standby, got notifications, saw what Jameer was doing, switched back on, and thankfully they held strong.
I was at work when the Vikings. I was really busy at work at Samaritas when the Vikings jumped ahead 10-0, but the Lions scored 21 straight points thereafter, and then it was a game. Period. So, man, oh man, what is going on with the Michigan Wolverines? They were ranked 24th. They lost. They fell flat in a 21-7 loss to number 22 Illinois. Now Michigan is now unranked, out of the top 25 in the AP poll. Khalil Mullings, the only Wolverines touchdown on 19 carries for 87 yards. Jack Tuttle, 20 of 32 for 208 passing yards. That's it. No touchdowns passing and 1 interception. So Michigan's defense is doing all they could, but their offense has gotten even worse, way worse. No matter which quarterback they start.
You would think with a bye week, something could come up to effect of, hey, we're going to be showing more advancement, more development, maybe not necessarily more aggressiveness, but just more evidence that we've turned a page of sorts. Nope, didn't see it here. I saw the same crap that I've been seeing all season, and frankly, it wasn't for the fact that the national championship was just won this past year, I would be, feeling in a much different, much angrier, spiteful mood. But, you deal with what you can deal with in terms of these situations. It's still very disappointing. Make no mistake about it. This is a very winnable game considering the fact that, you're, like you said, the defense did as much best as they could. Considering the fact that there was all this pomp and pageantry about this being the Red Grange dedication, the 100th anniversary of Memorial Stadium, all that good stuff. Even despite the fact that Illinois ran that fake punt, which was admittedly a bit of a momentum swing type of deal, because they were able to capitalize on that and later on scored a touchdown. But still, Michigan's offense had a chance to make this a one-score game midway through the fourth period, and what Jack Tuttle throws in the red zone interception. That is a microcosm of what this season has been like. So close, but yet can't sniff the end zone when it matters most. This marks the first time, by the way, that you suffer consecutive losses since 2020, and also you scored. This game marked the fewest points scored by a Michigan team. Get this, since 2014. 10 years. We're talking Brady Hoke.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's the type of company you don't want to be hearing yourself being mentioned with if you're a Michigan head coach. Just saying.
Yeah, and Sharon Moore blocked and then unblocked Jim Costa on X.
Yeah, that was weird, and frankly, that's the last type of distraction that you need coming into a game of this matter with Ohio State coming up. Even if it is at your place, that's the last thing you need in terms of creating an unnecessary distraction for yourself and your teammates.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that forthcoming game in just a bit. But the Spartans, it was a low, just a sloppy first half, low scoring. But then Aidan Childs comes alive. Spartans beat Iowa, the Hawkeyes, 32-20 on homecoming. Aidan Childs, 22 of 30 for 256 yards passing, a touchdown and an interception. It was the only turnover of the game. Nate Carter, 9 carries for just 49 yards, but he scored a touchdown. K'Ron Lynch-Adams, 15 carries for 86 yards rushing. And Nick Marsh, of course, doing his thing, 8 catches for 113 receiving yards. So the Spartans, with that, I think they're riding the momentum from that second half. The way they closed down the Hawkeyes on homecoming, offensively and defensively. So
they're finally finding their rhythm. That's what we've been waiting to see since, frankly, the Ohio State game, since the Oregon game. Even if you knew they weren't going to win those games, they just weren't in the right rhythm.
right.
Careless turnovers, shooting yourself in the foot with mistakes at the wrong time, not cashing in when you need to, getting those scores. You saw the opposite of that with this MSU offense. They were getting scores, they were getting conversions, they were getting touchdowns. They were doing what they needed to do to pick up this win, and also they were taking care of the football. Now, what you see here, a position here. Now you're 4-3. You're over 500. Now you have an inside track, especially how your schedule's lining up. You can easily win 6, dare I say 7 games. And with how this game with Michigan go, it's a definite swing game one way or the other of how your record's going to look like. And I could say the same speaks doubly for Michigan too.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Michigan State at Michigan Saturday at 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. And like I said before, State is coming in with momentum. Michigan's offense is, again, in shambles, getting even worse.
I swear, it seems like the only reason that Michigan is even favored at all is because it's in their house. And even still, I don't trust it. Right now, I'm looking at the number. The money line was Michigan -3.5. That's Michigan -3.5. Tread lightly with that number as best as you can, but I'm just saying the way this Michigan offense is going, they'll be lucky to score 10 points, to score a touchdown if necessary. Because, again, this MSU defense, this is definitely without question their biggest game. They're going to give it their all, give it their everything. They're going to be looking to be as super aggressive, create turnover situations, get takeaways, but, be mindful of the penalties that they will tend to commit as a result of adapting a more aggressive fly-at-you style of play. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes about. What be the, can MSU establish the run against this Michigan run defense? That's going to be obviously another big key matchup to look at. Another one could be Nick Marsh. He's on the verge of setting a freshman record for receiving yards. So it'll be interesting. It'll be noteworthy to see how he's going to look. Now, I wasn't sure if Will Johnson was available or is aware, or if I'm aware if he's going to be available for this game or not. I know he's been dealing with some injury himself as of late. I think Sharon Moore had to address in the press conference once or twice. But if Will Johnson is playing, that could be one big matchup to look at. Just saying.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and predict Michigan State to win. Let's see. I'm going to be fair and say Michigan State 27, Michigan 6 by just 2 field goals. I know it sounds brutal to you, but really.
Ooh, thing is, though, you may not be too inaccurate with that call. All right. Screw it. Michigan 17, Michigan State 14. I know the offense is abjectly horrible, but that defense, especially Michigan's defense on that line with Graham and Grant, and if Josiah Stewart is playing the way he's been playing, look out.
That's right.
So I think we may have Rashawn Betty back in the secondary for this game, so that's another body that you can throw at Nick Marsh as well. That being said, if this offense was more efficiently better, I would be feeling more comfortable picking Michigan than I do now. But as I stand, I see this as being a very close Michigan win, 17-14. Where again, it's a swing game for these two teams record-wise. It could be the difference between going 6-6 or 7-5, or dare I say, going 5-7, depending on how the rest of your season goes.
I'm going to change my scoring prediction to Michigan State 17-6, not 27-6. So it's more. It's like you pointed out, Michigan still has their defense, but Michigan's offense, no way. 17-6 MSU, even in Ann Arbor.
You have got to wonder. Jaden Davis cannot be this bad I understand trying to save his red shirt, but I'm tempted to burn it because at this point, if it gets as bad as it gets, why not throw the kid in and give him a couple shots? Why not?
If they do, then I would trust Michigan to at least make more of a game out of it, even than 17-6, to be honest. So, unless they do that, I'm still picking the Spartans to win. Sorry, Ed. So Red Wings, they've won 3 straight, 5-2 at the Nashville Predators, 1-0 at the New York Islanders, in which a game they only recorded 10 shots on goal. While Alex Lyon made 30 saves, and then earlier tonight, 5-3 over the New Jersey Devils. Patrick Kane, the game-winning goal on the power play. Their power play finally explodes, or at least comes alive. Dylan Larkin has 4 goals on the year thus far. Patrick Kane scoring a few goals on the year as well. Tarasenko got an assist on Kane's only goal in Long Island. Tarasenko has been contributing and facilitating as well, at least a couple times. So
DeBrincat had 2 points tonight too.
Yes, yeah, he's contributing offensively.
Mm-hmm. See, it's good
Andrew
to see.
Copp.
Right, it's good to see. And we didn't even mention Lucas Raymond, of all people.
Right. He's been him all right, but really the Red Wings have been recording up just fewer shots on goal than fans have been urging them to the Red Wings to generate on goal, but still they find ways to win.
Well, it's a combination of your best players taking a step up in the experience department, maybe learning tricks of the trade that these veterans like Patrick Kane, for example, have been trying to will and instill within them. You may be seeing that. That's how they were able to somehow win a game 1-0 by just shooting the puck 10 times. Granted, most of that also because your goalie had decided to literally stand on his head that night, and credit to Alex Lyon on that. But you want to make sure that you don't have consistent games like that where you're taking 10, 15, less than 20 shots on goal throughout the per game throughout the course of the season. But it's very comforting and assuring to see, like you mentioned before, Dylan Larkin with his 4 goals already. You want to see your best players stepping up, whether it be Larkin, whether it be Kane, whether it be Raymond, whether it be Sider, whether it be DeBrincat, whoever it is. You got to see you need your players like that to make an early statement to the rest of the team and to these fans that yes, we are serious this year about trying to make a run for the playoffs. And I'll be honest, 1-3 was not showing that statement, not showing that heart, that drive to me at all. Something must have happened, but because they got their stuff together and now they've rattled off 3 straight, scoring 5 goals in 2 of those 3.
Wow.
Even
when recording very few shots on goal, they managed to get 5 pucks into the back of the opposing net, and 2
it's patience.
2 of the last 3 games.
It's coming down to patience, just like we saw the night against New Jersey. I'll let you know, for example, the first go-ahead goal in the 3rd period was a typical classic Patrick Kane shot pass. And I can guarantee you, he and Larkin has been practicing this setup every single time they couldn't practice because they played it out, they played patient, they drew out the defense, they waited until Larkin was in the absolute picture-perfect right spot. Kane, with his signature ability and his skill level, just, gave off the right force and momentum, delivered the shot pass on time to Larkin, and Larkin timed it perfectly, and basically with a little bit of one-timer action or redirection action, got that puck in the back of the net, and that was the first go-ahead goal. And then Kane himself had the second go-ahead goal, which essentially became the winning goal, and then he topped it off with Rasmussen getting the empty netter while also at the same time knocking Jack Hughes down on his butt and standing over him in a dominating pose. I love every bit of that third period. That, to me,
Competition.
that should be the statement that the Red Wings that want to be sending to the rest of the league, that we are for real this year. They need to use that. I know people say, oh, momentum is shift to shift. Well, guess what? Momentum can also be period to period. And if you use the momentum that you got in that period to spur on something that can last the next game, the next 2 games, the next 3 games, and so on and so forth, then hey, you got something going here. And maybe you can get and if you're Derek Lalonde, that will cool down some people that they're going to be calling to see you fired, especially after that 1-3 start.
But with that 3-game winning streak, things have kind of changed now. So the Red Wings, they head to Buffalo tomorrow afternoon, early 1:00 matinee start against the Sabres at KeyBank Arena. Sabres, bit of the bottom of the somewhere in the bottom of the pack of the Atlantic Division. Then the Edmonton Oilers come into town. The Red Wings head back home Sunday at 6 against Ken Holland's awful Edmonton Oilers, the defending Western Conference champions. But then this is a really good test for the Red Wings next Wednesday. They're home against what is now the 7-0 Winnipeg Jets. I was going to say 6-0 until they found out they won again 4-3 in overtime over the Seattle Kraken. The Winnipeg Jets are 7-0-0.
That's insane. Best team in the league right now.
God, I can't even, man. I'm gonna see what happens Wednesday night on FanDuel Sports Network Detroit. That's what it's now called. Yeah. Bally changed its name to FanDuel Sports Network Detroit with the naming rights and stuff like that. But in all seriousness, the Red Wings have a big test on their hands next Wednesday night. Red Wing fans had better buckle up on this one for that one. Enough said there. Pistons, they got outscored 33-19 in the fourth quarter and lose 115-109 to the Indiana Pacers on opening night at Little Caesars Arena. That was also an 11-1 run midway through the third quarter by the Pacers until the Pistons pulled away again, leading 90-82 after 3 quarters of play. Cade Cunningham had a rough first half, but third quarter he found himself within, scored 28 points total on 8 rebounds or 8 assists, but really just 33-19. It's just like we've seen this before. Biff Bryant and I recapped that game on Spaces on X at Michigan_Truth, and things just don't seem to change, do they?
Well, it looks like that on the surface, but I can tell you there are things that are changing. I see this team showing much better spacing on the floor. I'm seeing this team, at least we saw in that first half, showing much better 3-point shooting, especially with the likes of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris. I disagree with a couple of rotation shifts that JB Bickerstaff was doing in that second half that might have played a part in Indiana coming back, taking out certain players at unnecessary moments and leaving them out and leaving them on the bench for too long. That could be debatable.
For example.
Exactly. But it doesn't help the fact that someone else still needed to step up besides Cade in that second half. And unfortunately, we didn't quite see that come together in that fourth quarter. Everyone else was missing their shots. And remember, this is a Indiana Pacers team that you can argue had a good chance of getting to the NBA Finals last year if Tyrese Halliburton wasn't hurt. So, mind you, this is the runner-up in the entire conference going against a team that had the worst record in the league last year. And think about this. This is the type of game we got. Yes, it's disappointing that the loss happened. Yes, it's disappointing that they blew the lead, but this is something to be encouraged by in terms of wanting to see, hey, how's this team going to show perseverance? How's this team is going to show development and fight and grit? Because they decided to put the word in there as one of their
Slogan.
some slogans. You want to say they're copying the Lions, sure, but it's helped out for the Tigers. Who's to say it can't help out for the Pistons?
Sort of.
For that matter, can't help out for the Red Wings. So,
Oh yeah, 1-3 straight. Yeah.
Right. So in terms of embracing that mentality, that will come. That will come in due time of knowing what to do in the fourth quarter, not trying to, force everything on Cade to try to do everything in the fourth quarter. Have someone else be that reliable second in command for him, whether it could be an Ivy, whether it could be a Duran, whether it could be who will, take your pick. But it's still going to come. It's not going to be instantly and overnight, but you see the development, you see promises there. It'll come on its own naturally, and so I have nothing to worry about. Yes, the opening of the schedule looks a little daunting, not going to lie, but depending on who you're facing, when you're facing them, it could be a good chance that you're surprising them. So for that, I'm still saying keep the faith on the Pistons. They're still learning, they're still growing, but at the end, they'll be much better for all the better for it.
Yeah, they just need to learn to play 48 minutes, and JB Bickerstaff needs to learn to chip in all the right players come crunch time, especially in that fourth quarter, especially late.
It's going to be a learning experience for him too.
Start maintaining your leads. Don't blow them again. Play 48 minutes, all that jazz. They're in Cleveland Friday night against the Cavaliers at 7:30. They're back home against the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champions, Saturday at 7 at home at Little Caesars Arena. Then they go to South Beach Monday at 7:30 to tip off with the Miami Heat. And then Wednesday, they head back up northeast to Philadelphia to play the 76ers. The last I checked, it was Wachovia Center. Yeah, but Wednesday at 7 at the Philadelphia 76ers. So, what all did we learn?
Frankly, we learned in terms of tonight, we learned that the Lions they're the class of the NFC, man. Even without Aidan Hutchinson, they are on the mentality of the goal of 1 week at a time, one game at a time, trying to get better week by week, and it shows. It showed here late in that game against Minnesota, and hopefully it's going to show again here against Tennessee. We also learned about the Jameson Williams suspension. It's unfortunate. It's a setback, but it's not the end of the world for him, despite what you may hear from critics and haters and whatnot on Twitter and social media, trying to get hot take theater going on, saying, "Ooh, Jamo's a bust." Please, shut up.
Still play to win the game, He'll be back.
Right, he'll be back.
Not too long.
He'll be back. He'll be ready to burn defenses again, and you'll all be loving him and kissing his behind all the more for it. So please. But anyway, we learned that the Michigan Wolverines are in an absolute disaster, free fall disaster mode, and that's not even considering what could or would happen with this possible impending decision with the whole sign investigation thing. But that's for a different matter, for a different subject. What's on the field is atrocious. What's on the field is absolutely atrocious. And frankly, if you're Michigan State, what we learned from them is not only can they, snap their losing streak and beat an Iowa team, they can absolutely beat Michigan. Even though I picked Michigan to win, this is absolutely a game that Michigan State could potentially win themselves. And as we learned for both the Red Wings and the Pistons, we learned the Red Wings are starting to show some grit of their own. They have a 3-game winning streak after starting 1 of 3. It's good to see guys it's good to see their offense starting to pick up the slack and score 5 games in 2 of their last 3 games. 5 goals in 2 of their last 3 games, and getting a shutout in between by one of your goaltenders is always helpful to see. And when you have your best players stepping up, like a Larkin, like a Kane, like a Raymond, like a whoever, it makes things so much easier to see and makes that catharsis even better to enjoy as a result. And as for the Pistons, I would say keep the hope up. There's no need to panic about how this team is going to look after literally just 1 game in a new regime. But I liked what I saw. There's things to fix up and improve upon. But yeah, still some things that get to come in my view if you're a Pistons fan, especially what you saw from Cade Cunningham.
Yes, exactly. So again, like Herman Edwards said in the past, you play to win the game. That's exactly what the Lions have been doing, even without Aidan Hutchinson. Guess what? They beat the Vikings without him, but for him at the same time. So that's another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at the Michigan at Michigan_Truth, like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch each of our episodes in full to help improve our public watch hours. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also, join its supporters club on Spreaker. Business shoutouts go to Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward and Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Best Buy with Geek Squad in Traverse City. Cali Tickets, call 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. I have an appointment next Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Family Healthcare Dental Center in Cadillac. Hooters of Saginaw. Again, I'm going on there on a weekly basis. They gave me a calendar for $20. Wow. A signed one by the staff. The waitresses, by the way. It's a Denise Jewelry in Lake City. Let's roll with it. Rolled ice cream in Cadillac. Their flavor of the week, strawberry lemonade. Still those summer vibes, even in the fall. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on TikTok at the Food Mafia LLC. And on Instagram at the Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. Northern Auto Lab in Lake City. I just got my oil changed a bit earlier this week. Just an oil change. $69. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195. And on Facebook, plan your bookings for next summer. And spring too. Pro Quality Cleaners of Cadillac. The Raven Social Restaurant on South Mitchell Street in downtown Cadillac. Stunning dishes by Steve Gorski. Union Barber in Birmingham and Ferndale. United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan. United Mobile Power Wash and Dry Ice Works in Southfield. And Well-Being with Catherine Palms. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is a presentation of the Huddle Sports Network. We'll be back Thursday night at midnight or later. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Signing off, we observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports. Stay on the lookout. Hit them with a hind.